This episode of the Cult Popture podcast was brought to you by our Patreon. If you want to tell us which films we should watch, get up to 2 extra exclusive podcasts a month, give us something to talk about in the post-credit scenes at the end of each episode, or even contribute to the discussion in the episode itself, then please consider joining the cult and donating at www.patreon.com/cultpopture. You all thought it was over, everybody.
You
Who thought it was over?
Stupid fucks.
No one actually thought it was over. It's still going. We're still here. Welcome back, everybody. This is Film Franchise Fortnights on the Cult Popture podcast. My name is AJ, and that over there is Richard, and we
Over here.
are both still covering doing what we do every fortnight, which is cover a different film franchise, except sometimes it takes 3 weeks to do one.
3
as is this time.
bloody weeks. Because you little fucks just couldn't get enough.
You're bloody greedy, and now it's all over your faces. And welcome back, everybody, to the franchise previously known as J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. It is no longer holding the J.K. Rowling's moniker, just going by Wizarding World now. This is, of course, our continuing descent into the Harry Potter universe, into the Fantastic Beasts spin-offs, because every tentpole franchise needs its own prequel trilogy, whether it's an original series prequeling an original work like Star Wars, or an adapted series prequeling
Lord of the Rings.
Adapted series prequeling an adapted work like Lord of the Rings, or an original series prequeling an adapted work like Harry Potter. Or is it, Richard?
What? You lied to me.
That's right, because any proud Hufflepuffle millennial will tell you that they're still like clinging to their childhood, desperate to tell you that this person's actually related to Malfoy or some shit like that. Any of them will gladly tell you that the Fantastic Beasts series, which currently consists of 3 films, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, and Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, they're all incredibly loosely based. Sorry, they're not incredibly based, they're incredibly loosely based on the 2001 tie-in guidebook of the same name as the first film, which basically served as an in-universe encyclopedia of all the magical creatures that inhabit J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. And it is also in-universe written by one Newt Scamander, who's the main character of the films.
I know that
The first edition retail copy of this book is themed as being Harry Potter's copy specifically. It's also mentioned by name in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone novel, and it is filled with notes written by the bloody boy who lived himself. However, its 2017 reprints are, I guess, new copies, because new copies in universe, as they do not feature Harry's notes, but do feature a foreword by Scamander and includes 6 new creatures. The original version is actually billed as the 4 Muggles version, and the foreword is by Albus Dumbledore explaining that all these creatures are fictional, while the 27 reprint is the 4 Wizards version, which paints an interesting situation where obviously Newt thought he could make a little bit of extra money by selling Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them to Muggles and just saying, I just made it up. It's
Did you
fake.
have the book original?
No.
I did. Well,
Did you?
me and my sister, between us, had both Fantastic Beasts and Quidditch Through the Ages. I think Quidditch was mine from memory, but I can't remember.
Right.
But Quidditch Through the Ages was released around the same time, and it was a very similar length,
Both written for like some BBC charity event or something like that.
What a good person, Comic relief, I think.
Before we start, it is important to once again say, fuck J.K. Rowling! And in this case, also, fuck Ezra Miller, apparently. And I'll say it, fuck Johnny Depp as well. And also, fuck John Voight, who was in the first film. In a role so incidental, we probably won't mention him again after this brief fuck you.
Yeah, who else is there?
There is a few other people, but they're surprises. So we'll get
Okay.
So, the first film we're going to be talking about is called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It came out in 2016, 5 years after Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. This is directed by David Yates.
That old chestnut.
The only man for the job. Between Deathly
You want a
Hallows
boring,
Part 2,
flavourless film, you call David Yates.
Get Yates on the horn.
Yeah.
Between Deathly Hallows Part 2 and this, Yates only directed one other film called The Legend of Tarzan, which stars Alexander Skarsgård, and it came out only months before Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
And by all accounts was boring and flavourless.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But I found out from researching it, though, that it focused on a reformed and civilized Tarzan who now goes by John Clayton, and he returns to his jungle home after hearing reports of slavery. It scored a whopping 35% on Rotten Tomatoes, which at the time was an unprecedentedly low score for a David Yates film, perhaps indicating that the man flounders without an established story to adapt. Just a possibility.
Yeah, Skarsgård's like famously fucking ripped and hot in that film as well.
He actually goes by John Clayton now, not Tarzan.
I'm pretty sure I said Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh. Yeah, so what do you think Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm going to guess 78.
74, respectable.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably about what it is. What is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them about? Richard, where are they? Where are they?
Well, that's the thing. They're all around us.
Whoa,
So you have
easy.
this guy, Newt Scamander, played by everybody's favourite Eddie Redmayne. And yeah, he's a bloody Brit. And this is set in the 1920s, by the way. He goes to New York City with a magical briefcase full of creatures.
How whimsical.
Fantastic beasts, you might describe them. And they go missing. And they bloody get out. They go wreak havoc on New York City. And he's got to hunt them down along with his new friend who's a nomad, which is the American slur for people without magical abilities. And he's a guy called Jacob Kowalski.
And you'll never get this if you've never seen this movie, and I'm not kidding about this. The inciting incident is they both have the same brand of briefcase and mix them up at the bank, and so Jacob Kowalski is the one that opens the briefcase and lets out some of the Fantastic Beasts.
And then also there's a few other characters, and there's like it just hints at, more sinister goings on. There's a guy called Percival Graves who turns out to be the evil wizard Gellert Grindelwald, and played by Percival Graves is played by Colin Farrell, but it's actually he was using Polyjuice Potion.
What clever writing!
And he turns out to be a very silly-looking Johnny Depp.
We'll get more to Johnny Depp ad nauseum.
And we also, we have Ezra Miller playing Credence, who is revealed to be an obscurial, which is when a magic child suppresses their magic and then they just fucking go nuts.
I'm surprised they're not called like smoke cunts or some other horrific slur because all the other ones are called something. It's either a muggle or a squib or a mudblood. Why do these ones get obscurial?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, because they all die when they're children usually.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So
no time to degrade them.
Yeah.
So...
And John Voight's in it.
Ezra Miller's character, Credence, belongs to the New Salem Society or something or other, which is basically a bunch of Christians, like old-school fundamentalist Christians who are
You know all about those.
Restart.
Trust you to bring those up.
Yeah, I wonder where J.K. Rowling got the idea to make fundamentalist Christians the villains for her new story. It's sort of like reigniting the Salem witch trials because they believe in witches and wizards, but no one else does. There's also two ladies involved.
Two
named
ladies.
Tina and her sister Queenie, whom just like fall in love with Newt and Jacob Kowalski,
As we, the audience, do.
And yeah, exactly. It ends with after Percival Graves is revealed to be Grindelwald, and after the obscurus that is Ezra Miller disappears, presumably to wreak havoc in Hawaii. I don't know. They release this giant thunderbird into the sky from Newt Scamander's suitcase, which obscurials all the Muggles / no-mages, depending on where you're from, meaning that no one remembers. What did I say?
Obscurial.
Oh, imagine if it obscurial.
Yeah, it turns them all into smoke fucks.
God. Yeah. What was it? Obliviates them all. And then they decide that Jacob Kowalski, their no-mage friend, must also be obliviated, despite the fact
never
that
to be seen again.
Despite the fact that Queenie's fallen in love with him. What did you think of this film? We saw this together, I believe.
We did, yeah, I think so, yeah. What did I think of this film when I first saw it or now?
Give me both.
They're very different answers.
Only give me when you first saw it, actually, and never acknowledge what you think of it now.
Alright, so when I first saw this, I was like, I'll go along to the movies with my friend OJ. Also, it's interesting, we should put this into context as well, because 2016 was a real bad year for movies, for blockbusters.
This was one of the best ones.
And that's the thing. Like, we had like Suicide Squad came out in 2016. I don't remember what else. But it was like, it was just a weak year for blockbusters. A lot of them were disappointing. And so it was like, yeah, I mean, Fantastic Beasts is probably one of the best blockbusters of the year. And watching it at the time, I was like, it's clearly because they said, there's going to be 5 of these films, and it was like, yeah, this annoying thing where you feel like you're watching the first part of a story rather than the Harry Potter movies, which felt, for the first ones anyway, felt a lot more like you're still getting a satisfying one story. And so I was like, yeah, it's not incredible necessarily, but I don't have any issues with it. Watching it this time, I was like, fuck, this is boring. Now knowing that it goes nowhere, that it's unsatisfying, I'm, rather than watching, 1/5 of what could be a good movie, I know I'm watching 1/5 of a bad movie. And so I'm now just like, fuck, this drags on. Fuck, I don't care. And that's how I feel about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Wow. Thank you for being
honest. And this
is
the best one.
I remember liking this film a lot more when I saw it in cinemas as well. I mentioned in our Harry Potter podcast that I was disappointed in the Harry Potter movies because I'd just read the books and was directly comparing them to the movies. And I think I found Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them a bit more engaging because there wasn't a whole bunch of cut content I knew about from the novels. Rewatching it now, though, it's so bogged down with trying to become a franchise with essential lore to the Harry Potter canon that I just find it so frustrating. And like, I will get to say I'll get more into that is an understatement, but like these would benefit so much from being standalone. That's a little teaser for where I am steering this baby.
For where to find it.
Yeah. However, one thing I do really love about this movie and this franchise, and something that I'll always sing its praises for, is Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander.
Oh, stinks.
Fuck off. I've controversially decided that
that we both like him.
yeah, Richard, I've decided. No, I think Newt Scamander might be my favourite Harry Potter character. Like, at least Eddie Redmayne's portrayal of him. I can't speak to him in the fictional books. Like the movies aren't fictional. I've always
this
found...
is all fiction, mate. This podcast is fiction.
Yeah.
Our friendship is fiction.
I've always found Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander such a refreshing leading man in what was the current blockbuster landscape at the time. Like, it makes his inevitable sidelining in the sequels probably one of my least favourite things about them. And I think, like, in a time of, like, everyone was trying to make, like, their own Tony Stark, snarky characters or Star-Lord, like, Scamander gives us a shy and polite
He's more like Spider-Man.
Yeah, okay, sure, which wasn't out in 2016. So
it's fine. No,
still stands.
He's in Civil War already.
That's true. I think Redmayne plays him with such grace and lightness, I think. There's such a tenderness and just seems like such a nice guy, and I think Redmayne like does a great job in that respect, and I could watch this character in dozens of movies if they were more focused on him.
24 movies minimum. That's a lot of movies.
And that's how many Fantastic Beasts movies there's going to be. In a lot of ways, I think he fits into the same category as Captain Jack Sparrow for me, in that he's like a 10 out of 10 character in a franchise which has nothing else to offer eventually, in the case of Pirates of the Caribbean. It would have been so easy to not even think about giving the protagonist such a specific characterization. I think he could have just been generic hero.
John Wick.
Kind of. Yeah, sure. Fucking John Wick, sure. I don't know, just like a generic
killed my
hero.
Fucking Niffler. I'm back.
And I don't know if I would have noticed if he wasn't this very specific. Like, a lot of people have said he's like neurodivergent, which is a really cool idea for a lead character. And I love him. I want to be his friend. I think Redmayne is an ingenious casting decision, and he fits into the universe so well. He auditioned for this apparently because he did not get Kylo Ren, which is crazy to think that we could have had Eddie Redmayne as Kylo Ren.
Newt Scamander as Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Apparently he was the producer's first and only choice for Newt Scamander. Like, there's just so many things, like a couple of lines that I think he delivers so well is when Tina, who's the Aura, who's soon to be love interest, but at the time trying to arrest him, when he when he closes the case after finding it open, she's like, "Did that get opened?" And he's just like, "Just a smidge." And it's like, very tender.
And in any other movie, they'd go, "Case closed."
Yeah, right. You're kind of right, though. Like, you're exaggerating, but that is true. And like, there's this really sweet moment just before Jacob Kowalski is obliviated, where he's like, "We all know Newt was only keeping me around because of the suitcase or whatever," and he's like, "No, that's not why." He's like, "Oh, why were you keeping me around then?" And he just goes, "Because I like you." And it's just a very genuinely sweet
Yeah, and in another movie, he'd be like, "Case closed," because that would be established as his catchphrase.
Yeah, exactly. A Case Closed sounds like it would be the title of like one of the DVD special features for this movie.
I guarantee it probably is.
Yeah, Case Closed, the behind the scenes of Fantastic Beasts.
Creating, revisiting the magical world.
Revisiting the magic. Case Closed. I don't think I'm as hot on the other characters as this movie wants to be, for all of Newt's nuance.
Oh, you gotta love Kowalski.
Okay, let's talk about all I want to say before Kowalski is Tina. Tina's pretty boring, isn't she?
Oh, everyone's boring in this film. The film itself is boring.
I think with Kowalski, he's just sort of like the wacky sidekick, and I have seen versions of him before, whereas I feel like I can't remember a lot of characters like Newt.
Yeah, and you're just like wacky. Hey, case closed, huh?
Hey, case closed. I think Queenie is kind of interesting. She can read minds, and that's all very fun.
Very
a
wacky.
lot of fun
She's
stuff
also
happens
very
with that.
wacky as a sidekick.
Very wacky, until she becomes a Nazi at the end of the second film.
Yeah.
Colin
Nazis.
Farrell as Percival Graves is interesting until he becomes Grindelwald, and then I'm immediately retroactively not interested in the character.
Another wacky Nazi.
Ezra Miller's credits as a character I really like in the first film, but I do not think he needed to return for the sequels. Do you have any thoughts on the characters beyond they're boring and you don't like these movies?
No, that pretty much sums it up. In the words of Newt Scamander, case closed.
Well, let's talk about Johnny Depp / Grindelwald, the reveal. So the whole thing is like, all of a sudden, Percival Graves starts going haywire, and everyone's like, "That's not an aura behavior," and then does the slow pan where he like slowly turns into Grindelwald and Johnny Depp, and it's one of those things I hate where it's like a twist if you know outside the film who Johnny Depp is.
Yeah.
You know,
they needed to establish, because you see the back of Grindelwald's head. Briefly, and you see that he has wacky white / blonde hair, and then when you see Johnny Depp at the end of the film, he's got wacky white hair. He's got wacky heterochromia. He's got a wacky moustache. And it's like, pick one, Johnny. Pick
one thing.
That was our main feedback I remember coming out, like, on the drive home.
he's got, they've done all the characteristics they possibly could to make him look interesting.
It's so Johnny Depp, because, like, remember, like, we're talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and it's like, Johnny was like, oh, Jack Sparrow should have his nose, like, should be blackened, like, it should be rotting because it's been
and he's
poorly,
afraid of
and he's afraid of pepper. This is what happens when you don't have Jerry Bruckheimer telling him no.
You have J.K. Rowling, the world's worst yes man. Yeah. I remember hearing Johnny Depp was cast in the second one before this one even came out. Do you remember that? It was like days before this released, and it was like Johnny Depp cast as Grindelwald. And I remember thinking, quite foolishly at the time, why would Grindelwald be in the sequel? Like, these aren't about him.
Fucking fool. He's the titular character of the second one.
Yeah. Funnily enough, this is probably you've probably heard this before, but it's fun to bring up that this is the second film to feature Colin Farrell and Johnny Depp portraying two versions of the same character, after the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus in 2009, where the two respective actors, along with Jude Law, stepped in for Heath Ledger after his passing.
Where have I seen Jude Law recently?
Well, Richard, Jude Law was also set to play young Dumbledore in the second sequel to
Doble.
Dumbledore. So I remember just being like, why is Grindelwald in this? And that question would be one I would not stop asking as more movies came out.
It's what you should be asking is, why is Newt Scamander in these? And why is it Fantastic Beasts in them?
Where Grindelwald and where to find them?
Yeah. Wacky Nazis and where to find them.
This film was announced in 2013, so 3 years before it came out and 2 years after Deathly Hallows. It was announced as an adaptation of the textbook, though it is worth noting that the textbook, as we've discussed, doesn't have a narrative.
A textbook.
So it's a textbook. So the plot is 99% original. But allegedly how it started is that in 2011, Lionel Wigram, who's one of the producers, had the idea of doing a one-off fake documentary special featuring Newt in the style of like a David Attenborough or Steve Irwin or Jane Goodall kind of thing, which sounds like an SNL sketch. If SNL relied on people knowing deep Harry Potter lore.
Yeah, get Jake Novak on the horn.
He'd do great. When Wigram proposed this to fellow producers David Heyman, who did all the Harry Potters, and J.K. Rowling, it inspired Rowling to write a feature screenplay. Of course it did. Furthermore, she already had in mind several news stories from the magic world. I would say she was still working on the same one.
It's the same one, yeah.
By the sound.
Just a one story.
And she'd considered doing an anthology of animated shorts based on the tale of the Beetle and the Bard, which got me thinking, wouldn't that be an awesome idea to see that same animation style done for the tale of the three brothers for all the other Beetle and the Bard?
Yeah, which Hermione read knew from memory.
Yeah. Correction from last week, gang. Do you want to tell them, Richard? Do you want to own up to that?
I misremembered something from the...
It's not a big deal. Let's move on.
It's not a big deal.
Heyman said around September 2016, so Lionel had this idea, Jo got wind of it, she said, well, funnily enough, I've been thinking about something already, and she had this whole idea in some form. I mean, it's changed and developed over the course of the year and a half and 2 years that's been going on, but she knows how each part connects with her universe. I'm sure she does. J.K. Rowling was brought on to write the film in her first ever screenwriter gig.
And, it shows.
A skill she is uniquely terrible at, I think.
She's not uniquely. I think there's lots of people that are terrible at screenwriting.
I mean that in the sense that, like...
It's the only thing she's bad at?
No. Her problems as a screenwriter are not problems for an author. Right. Things like characters speaking in diatribes are fine in books, but when it's in a movie, it's like, let's move on.
That's why they call them movies.
Yeah, because you're moving on constantly. And that's why I call books stays.
Yeah.
Once again, Alfonso Cuarón was rumoured to direct this movie before the role presumably defaulted to David Yates, the living director embodiment of the concept of default. So, I don't know why they don't want... And, like, it's one thing to be like, David Yates is cheaper, but it's like... which I'm assuming. But, like,
Yeah.
Alfonso Cuarón wants to return to your dumb little wizard story. Like, give him the reins, man.
Yeah.
Imagine Alfonso Cuarón's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I mean, this is stomped into the ground talking points, but imagine Del Toro's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, like...
Imagine Mike Newell's.
Even that! The mind boggles at all the possibilities of where this franchise would go if they'd just hand over the fucking reins to a different director.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Oy vey.
The Obliviate stuff at the end doesn't make sense. Time to point out some plot holes. The best thing to do on a podcast.
Yep.
So all the muggles in New York see all this crazy magic stuff happen, right?
Yeah.
And then this eagle flies into the sky and it shits down Obliviate and stuff. And they all have their memories wiped, even those under shelter somehow. You see like a muggle taking a shower and you see him like sort of forget things.
They got into the water supply.
Well, yeah, which is fine, but like Jacob retains his memories until he stands out of shelter. Like, he just knows what's going on until he stands out of the rain.
Well, it's because he's the main character.
Yeah, okay. And is this only affecting New York? Because news of wizarding turmoil has been going on publicly for at least half a day by the time everyone's obliviated.
Well, it's 1926. News travels slowly.
Do you reckon that's a good enough excuse? Like, actual?
Yeah, well, back then, the news was actually called the Olds because it took so long.
You know that shit. I think you have offered just 100% jokes this episode. Everything you've said has great jokes, but...
Great jokes calling the news Olds. Yeah, I'm in a silly, goofy mood.
That's okay. Then in the sequel, right, we're told that Kowalski was able to remember because the obliviation only wiped out bad memories.
Yeah.
Does this apply to everyone in New York? Are there people in New York who had like the best day of their lives while all this was happening and they still remember it all?
But it would have to be somehow, it being the best day of their life would be like intrinsically linked to the bad stuff happening.
Right.
Because I guess if you had like, you got married, but also the Chrysler building was destroyed, you would probably still remember your wedding.
Okay.
If you were able to get your venue for your wedding because the Chrysler building was destroyed, you might have to forget both. We're not. I don't know.
Right. The weirdest part about all of this, I think, is that they obliviate Kowalski despite knowing he'll be in the sequel. Sorry, the writers do, not the characters. So they know that they're going to bring this character back in the sequels, and yet they wipe his memory. And you can tell in, like, Men in Black 2 that they really regretted memory wiping Tommy Lee Jones. And they have to bend the plot backwards and jump through all these hoops to get him back.
They flush him down a big toilet.
Yeah. This was like, this is because a sequel wasn't planned for Men in Black right away, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like retconning something like a memory wipe is always such a clear indication of a sequel not being planned in advance,
The two examples.
But this one was planned in advance. Like there's literally like casting news for the sequel came out before this one was released in cinemas, and they still wiped his memory and gave it like a real like piss poor explanation in the second one.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe there was something else planned though.
Ah, that could be true.
Yeah, like, and because coming out of this movie, everyone was going fucking mad for Kowalski, even more than they did when Penguins of Madagascar came out, which also features a character called Kowalski. But it was like, it was similar to the Jurassic Park. I was talking about this with someone today, that the Jurassic Park the Jurassic Park book kills Ian Malcolm, but then they said you have to write a sequel, but you have to bring back Ian Malcolm so that we can adapt it for the second movie because we want to bring back Ian Malcolm. This sort of like
Jeff Goldblum's character.
Yeah, just finagling. Jesus.
Yeah. You okay?
Yeah, something just fell down in another room in my house. I think Jess is getting into the shower. That'll be it. I think she might have knocked over some shampoo. And what's funny is she'll probably be listening to this in the shower.
Wow.
So if you are listening, don't drop the shampoo. So the
Yeah.
I was just going to say that maybe that's not the last time we'll hear Jurassic Park mentioned on this podcast, but then the shampoo distracted me. So I needed to come back round to it.
Okay.
So what's...
I've got some dumb IMDb trivia for you. So this is, of course... IMDb trivia for these movies is so fucking long and boring, and it's all the same stuff over and over again. But here's
kind of like the movies.
Here are some poorly written IMDb user submitted trivia.
I can't believe that's not what you were going for.
No. When Mary Lou asks Newt, "Are you a seeker?" he answers by saying, "More of a chaser." It's worth saying in the film this is not referring to Quidditch. This is referring to religion. He says, "More of a chaser." This has a double meaning, Richard. Did you know this? Because since seekers and chasers, get this, are both positions in the game of Quidditch. And it also alludes to the fact that he is continuously chasing creatures.
Oh, okay. I got one meaning, but I was waiting for the second.
This is so like I don't think of him necessarily as like chasing creatures, you know? And it's like it's that thing where recently I found out that there's a Simpsons joke that's quite controversial where Ralph Wiggum states, "Oh boy, sleep, that's where I'm a Viking." And there are two schools of thought. One thinking he's saying, when I dream, I'm a Viking. Because
he dreams about being a Viking, yeah.
And then there's this small school of people who I think very stupidly
stupid
that he's saying he sleeps so good that he's like the Viking of sleeping.
Yeah.
Sleep,
Vikings aren't an expression for doing well at something.
Exactly. And just in the same way, I don't think of him as... I wouldn't necessarily use the word chasing to describe what Newt does.
Well, because it already has a double meaning in the film. Like the meaning, the literal meaning in the text, and then there's the Quidditch meaning. So this person's actually saying it has a third meaning.
That's true. I should change that piece to triple meaning.
You should, yeah.
This has a triple meaning. The bartender house elf at Narlac Speakeasy scoffs at Jacob's claim that his uncle was a house elf. Jacob doesn't realise that house elves are a different species, and thus can't be related to humans. Harry Potter enthusiasts will also scoff at Jacob's blunder. In America, when people feel awkward about situations like this, people will often say, "My uncle's a ... which is what Jacob does as an American. His mistake is also understandable because he's a nomad, in brackets, muggle.
It's very clear what Jacob's doing in that scene. He knows there's no way he could be related.
Poorly written. Yeah. It's so poorly written.
That feels like one that someone's come and edited.
Yeah, sure.
And also that should really be under goofs.
All of these pieces of trivia, goof made by the character is a category of goof. Like dumb IMDb trivia always reads like it's just someone trying to build trivia out of nothing, and it's just like they just want to add, they want to contribute to the canon in some small way. Do you have any other things you'd like to talk about with the first
Any other
film?
dumb IMDb trivias I can come up with?
No. We could add one right now. This movie was actually supposed to be good.
There's in this film, Ezra Miller plays a smoke monster and also committed several assaults in Hawaii.
Yeah.
One of the most famous smoke monsters in history was from the show Lost, which was actually filmed in Hawaii.
That is legitimately worthy of being an IMDb trivia entry. Like, how is that any worse than some of the stuff we read all the time?
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that, to be honest.
We should add it.
Yeah, lean away from the mic proud, which is why I just accepted someone's invite on a request to connect on LinkedIn. And they said, "Thank you for connecting, dear."
Okay.
They're a contributor at NBC News. I don't think I'll be replying to that.
Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald came out in 2018. Guess who this was directed by?
Oh, probably some boring fucking flavourless piece of shit.
It was directed by David Yates. You couldn't be more wrong, Richard.
Oh, no. It's the flavourful and exciting David Yates.
What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, probably some fucking boring low score.
Yeah, 36. Pretty low for David Yates, but though still 1 point higher than The Legend of Tarzan.
Wow.
And what is this film about?
Oh, fucking don't ask me. Jesus.
I've asked you.
Oh, what a shit fucking movie. Like, this is, you'd moved when this came out, right? Yeah.
Yes.
You'd moved back to Christchurch. So we didn't see this together. But I remember walking out of this and being like, what the fuck? And messaging you. And you said that one of your friends walking out of it was like, what was that about? And you were like, I have no fucking clue. And that's the thing. Like, it's just such a fucking mess of a movie that they had to get Steve Kloves, who wrote almost all of the Harry Potter movies, back for the next one, because even the producers realized this lady can't write. And it's like, so Grindelwald gets put in prison at the end of the first film. Not Azkaban. But then,
not Azkaban prison. It's actually not Azkaban prison.
Yeah, because it's America. But he and he sort of he builds his army. Those are his crimes, the titular crimes. And
it's such a boring. We'll talk about titles. I don't want to jump the gun.
Yeah, I imagine you have quite a lot to say. But yeah, and then so it turns out that Queenie has just been fucking Kowalski without his consent.
She's enchanted him to be for. I don't know why she needs to, but yeah, I mean that's what the characters say in the film as well, I guess. Yeah. This one's primarily set in Paris. You've got inclusions of new characters such as young Dumbledore, played by Jude Law. I should say younger Dumbledore than what we've seen previously. You've got Leta Lestrange, played by Zoe Kravitz. You've got Newt Scamander's older brother, Theseus Scamander, played by Callum Turner. You've got Claudia Kim as Nagini. Surprise!
What?
She was a person once.
Oh, wow. I'm assuming because they're permanently transformed into an animal that it was a person of colour, because that's what they do in Hollywood.
We also get an appearance of from previously unseen heavyweight for the franchise, Nicholas Flamel, played by Brontis Jodorowsky, who is the son of director and guy most famous for not directing Dune, Alejandro Jodorowsky. Nicholas Flamel shows up in what is an incredibly forgettable minor role in the film.
But you do get to spy the Philosopher's Stone, the thing from the first one.
Very cool! Cool! That's how I feel
I'm not allowed
whenever I see a thing from the
I
lore.
was so close to doing my thing of like putting the microphone in my mouth and talking.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to spare AJ's like little editing ears. And then you fucking yelled.
I didn't put it in my mouth though.
Yeah, but well... It's not funny then.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for telling me I'm not funny on my podcast that I do with you.
Well, I've just been doing just jokes.
So,
case closed. Sorry, bud.
Jokes. So Grindelwald essentially escapes from prison and makes an army, and everyone's like, "No, don't join Grindelwald. You're so sexy." Queenie joins him, and Leta Lestrange, who turns out in a very inconsequential plot point, like accidentally killed her brother when he was a baby and switched it for Ezra Miller's character, who's back. And then at the end of the film, we find out that Credence, Ezra Miller's character, is actually a Dumbledore. And what do we say? We say, wow, cool. We go, wow, cool, he's a Dumbledore.
I remember people being so pissed off about this.
I'm not pissed off for the same reason other people are pissed off.
I mean
because
like
it adds to the lore.
Yeah, no, I mean people that were like, no, that's Dumbledore doesn't have a a secret brother named Alfurius or whatever his name is.
Yeah, but it's also just like, it's that thing where franchises, when they're flailing for good ideas, and Harry Potter is terrible for this, where they open up the big pack of franchise cliches, of plot twist cliches, and picks one at random, and it happened to be one character is related to another character, which is the most meaningless one. I always feel like that just doesn't mean anything. If you grew up and if I met, like, if I had an estranged brother and he was like a psychopath, I'd be like, okay, I'm not getting to know him. I don't feel a blood connection to this person.
Movies put so much more importance on family. I mean, especially Fast and Furious, but like because this was the whole thing with the fucking Star Wars, is that like
the Star Wars and the Jurassic Park,
the Star Wars similar to the Jurassic Park, but like because that was, I mean, one of the things I really liked about The Last Jedi is that they're like, it doesn't fucking matter who you're related to. And
that's the coolest, and I've adopted that. That should be for every movie.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who you're related to.
Yeah, I mean that's 3 2017 movies had that twist.
Yeah,
and
true.
then I've talked about this, but it's something I noticed by myself, and I'm very proud of it. That Coco, Blade Runner 2049, and The Last Jedi all have the same twist, but which actually came out the year between these two. Interestingly, could have learned something from this, but
I'd love that as well. Like, there is a similar, not like opposite of that twist in the first film, where you find out that that Credence is the Obscurious, but for a little while, it's hinting that it's the little girl that also goes to the Salem community.
Yeah, because they talk about Obscurials can't live past a certain age, so it's like it has to be the younger one.
And then it's like, surprise, what a twist. It turns out the Obscurial wasn't the character that you would have never suspected. It was this much more fucking obvious one, which is the opposite of a twist.
It's like Saving Private Ryan syndrome as well, where it's like, or like any of those like detective shows or anything like that, where they have like a special guest star. It's like, who could it be? And it's the most famous person.
Yeah. What did you think of this film? I have no idea if we've accurately conveyed the plot.
It doesn't fucking matter what the plot is.
That's what the movie feels like. What did you think of this?
This is shit. This is a fucking bad film. This is
nonsense.
It's actually just nonsense. It just doesn't make sense. It's just boring. It's hard to follow. And I mean, 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like, it's certainly got its detractors, but I got asked to go see Secrets of Dumbledore. There was a group of people from work that I don't talk to, but they were like, "Oh, Richard, like, you like movies. Do you want to come see Secrets of Dumbledore with us?" And I was like, honestly, no. And I was like, Crimes of Grindelwald was one of the worst blockbusters I've seen in recent years. And they went, "Oh, no, come on." And it was like, no,
it's worse than even like dumb blockbusters because it's trying to be smart.
Yeah, well, I was thinking this actually watching Secrets, but I'm going to say it now, is that like, and I mean this in the worst way possible, these remind me so much of Star Wars. Like, they're just this like fucking boring and just like, and especially like, it's just what Star Wars has become, and this whole thing of like fleshing out the stupidest fucking shit that I don't care about and just making it incomprehensible, and like taking, we never said explicitly this thing, so we can do the opposite of that. And it's like, and it's just, you've created such a rich world. You explore the world. Don't just explore. It's stupid.
My favorite criticism that I read for this film when I was researching it today was needlessly complicated, low stakes plot. And I was like, what a funny way to put it. Yeah. Like, what are the stakes in this movie? No one's really in danger.
Yeah, they might join Wizard Hitler. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah. When I first saw this film, I thought it was so bad. I thought, as you say, it was probably one of the worst modern blockbusters I'd ever seen. It is convoluted, it is hard to follow. It's desperate to set up more sequels, even more so than the first film. And it would have scenes where everyone is just sitting around waiting for someone else to explain their backstory so that they can have a turn. Once you're done, I'll explain my backstory. Upon rewatch, It's not as bad as I remember. I think I made it way worse in my memory.
Fucking J.K. Rowling apologist.
No, I'm a Newt Scamander apologist because I forgot how much I enjoy his character, and he's still in this. And I did follow the story a little bit better, but it's still terrible. It so
much worse. I barely paid attention to it,
and I refuse to describe it to praise it any more than that. It's a really interesting case study of how someone who has only ever written a novel can fumble writing a film, as
absolutely.
I said before.
I also remember watching it for the first time when it was like, oh, you got, like, because this is before the kind of depaissance that he's going through at the moment after his, his stand-up comedy he did in that room where he was sitting in that box. And he...
After he beat up his wife and then made everyone like him again.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. But because before that... Before he was absolutely owning feminists, he was just kind of a shitty actor who was over the hill and didn't really care anymore. And I mean, he obviously has problems that he needs help for. But all these stories of the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean movie, how he was just reading lines off set and stuff like that, or having an earpiece, and it's having him join this massive franchise. And it was like, oh, he's just going to be shit. And then the movie was like, he's not the worst thing in it.
Well, in some ways, he is the worst thing in it, in a different way to how you're describing.
Well, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is he worse than J.K. Rowling?
Well, he's not the only main character who fucking beats people either.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm from a less important plot reason, I think my main issue with Johnny Depp in this movie is that it's so much more interesting to focus on Fantastic Beasts, JK. It's so much better than telling me the Dumbledore Grindelwald story that you already told us in its entirety. You already told us this in Deathly Hallows. Just make a Grindelwald movie as well as a Fantastic Beasts series.
This could have been the series. I would have happily accepted a Dumbledore v Grindelwald series. That would be what it would be called, and the Supreme Court would overturn it. But the
we're coming after everyone. This is hot podcasting.
Yeah, that. I could see this as a series, and I mean, it fucking feels like a TV series watching it, because that's the David Yates flavor, baby. But it's. Yeah, I would much rather have almost like an Indiana Jones style Fantastic Beasts, and maybe I'll elaborate on that now. Actually,
no, not now. Depp's casting did receive criticism in 2017 when he was cast, due to the domestic violence allegations against him. Yeah. In 2017, J.K. Rowling posted on her website, and I forgot about this.
Yeah,
this floored me. So someone who's at this point, none of the TERF stuff is really out. The most things she's being criticized for is you keep adding canon.
Trying to stay relevant, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's sort of a victimless crime at the time. But she posted on her website in regards to Johnny Depp being cast, she said they would not recast the role because Depp and his ex-wife Amber Heard had previously expressed hope that the mutual agreement they reached would enable both to move on from the controversy, and, quote, the filmmakers and I are not only comfortable sticking with our original casting, but genuinely happy to have Johnny playing a major character in the movies. About Rowling's response, Depp in October 2018 said, I'll be honest with you, I felt bad for JK having to field all these various feelings from people out there. I feel bad that she had to take that. This is so interesting to read now, in 2022. I think boy, does it feel weird to watch a movie written by J.K. Rowling starring Ezra Miller and Johnny Depp. 3 celebrities, all cancelled for different reasons. So I was thinking, they probably all think each other are the weird ones. If you think about it, I would assume J.K. Rowling with her, warped view of feminism probably doesn't like Johnny Depp anymore. you know, and I would
Probably
I would
doesn't
think
like Ezra Miller, who identifies as transgender, non-binary.
well, and exactly, and Ezra Miller wouldn't like J.K. Rowling because she's a TERF, and Johnny Depp probably looks at them both and be like, "Oh, you guys are crazy." Like they're not the same flavor of cancelled, and it's very impressive to have them all fit into one movie and sort of a Neapolitan of horrible celebrity.
Which one's which?
I'm not going to say any of them are chocolate. I feel like that would have terrible implications.
Okay. Who's like the vanilla cancelled?
No, none of them are vanilla cancelled, though, are they?
So you haven't got a Neapolitan cancelled.
Okay.
You've just got a big fucking bowl of strawberry cancelled.
Maybe we've got an awesome foursome. Remember that?
I do, yeah. Maybe we've got like a
Awesome
dessert-delicious, like different layers of cancelled.
Layers. There is a fourth person cancelled from this movie. If you paid close attention, you would have noticed there is a character in the first two that is not in the third, that aren't any of the ones we've discussed already.
If I had been paying close attention, I would have noticed that.
Is this film afraid to confirm Dumbledore's gay for Grindelwald? Discuss.
Okay, so this is something I took issue with when the movie came out. So many people like. And I think I talked about this last week, but so many people were like, oh, this film's it's cowardly, And I think there probably is an element of that, but I also think that if you're looking at this as a TV series, I would, episode 2 would hint at there's a reason I can't move against Grindelwald, but I'm too ashamed to say what that is. And then, Secrets of Dumbledore, like the secret is that he's gay. But he, and it's made very clear in the third one, and I think it's building up a mystique. I think there is a lot of things around representation and everything that are important in films, but I think this is like. Yeah, maybe it needed something at the end of the film because it is a film rather than an episodic thing where next week we'll have the answer. But yeah, they were afraid to say gay or love or anything like that. But I think it's believable.
He says they were closer than brothers.
But I would believe that if I was in love with a Nazi and someone said, why don't you kill that Nazi? I wouldn't say because I love the Nazi. I would say, oh, it's complicated.
Okay, fair enough. The climax of this film, this is retroactively been problematic corner. Sorry, the theme song wasn't included. But the climax of this film, Grindelwald says that Muggles are bad because Grindelwald can see into the future, and he says Muggles are bad because they're going to start another world war, which is true. This film is set in 1927. This is what actually happens. So, is Grindelwald right? I don't think Wizard Hitler should be more rational than Muggle Hitler. I think that's a very strange. Be like, yeah, he's got a point. It just puts you in a strange position considering the ramifications here. I think it's just inappropriate to acknowledge World War II in your fun wizard movie.
Yeah, I don't know that I call it a fun wizard movie. It's a wizard movie.
Yeah. Well, speaking of more lack of fun, I would love to talk about some of the other characters that are introduced in this film, including Theseus Scamander, who is Newt's older brother, played by Callum Turner. And what a fucking waste of a character this is. First of all, who the fuck is Callum Turner?
Yeah.
Cast someone
whose name you couldn't even remember when you were reading it.
Like, he's a completely bland guy who just kind of resembles Eddie Redmayne. And I think that this is why he was cast, or why the character even appears, is that they found Callum Turner and was like, he looked kind of like Eddie Redmayne. We should get him to play Newt Scamander's brother. Although, according to IMDb Trivia, during his first audition for Theseus, Callum Turner instinctively kissed Eddie Redmayne on the top of his head, and he believes that's what got him the role. Where is that in the movie? What an interesting scene that could be. I think that if you are doing the sequel trope of introducing the second version of the main character, as so many sequels do, like, Newt Scamander will now meet his brother.
There's two of them?
his brother should be the polar opposite of Newt Scamander. He should have these distinct attributes, catchphrases. He's his case open, Richard.
Yeah.
I'm so confused why this character is in it, and does nothing to contribute to the plot.
Forgot he was in it.
Christian Bale, Benedict Cumberbatch, Mark Strong, and Jared Harris were all allegedly considered for young Dumbledore.
Oh.
Jared Harris, of course, being Richard Harris's son, who...
Oh, yeah. Even I didn't even know that, but Jared Harris would have been great.
Yeah, so Richard Harris played Dumbledore in the first 2 Harry Potter movies, which is interesting because Jude Law, who was, of course, eventually cast, watched Michael Gambon's performance to, learn how to replicate it. And part of me is like, do you watch Michael Gambon to... if we're to believe these are the same character, you become Richard Harris before you become Michael Gambon.
Yeah. And then just between years 2 and 3 of Harry's tenure at Hogwarts, you fucking...
What do you think of Christian Bale, Benedict Cumberbatch, or Mark Strong? Mark Strong makes a lot of sense, I think.
I don't. I think they're all bad. I think Richard Harris is great.
Sorry, Jared Harris.
Richard Martin.
One News. What do you think of Jude Law as Dumbledore? Was it a slam dunk casting?
No, I mean it's I wouldn't call it a slam dunk.
It was a big deal when he got cast.
It's slam poetry, maybe. It was
okay.
Yeah, no, it's like it's competent casting. I remember not being super excited by the casting when it was announced that it was you're just like, oh yeah.
I don't see them as the same character
Not
at
at
all.
all.
I don't think he emulates Michael Gambon or Richard Harris.
Oh,
to be honest.
I've just been reminded of something. One of my favorite comments I've ever seen. So when the trailer for this movie came out, there's a scene. It's the same sort of Bogart class that we see in Prisoner of Azkaban, but we see a flashback to young Newt, and the kid who plays young Newt is so good at emulating this character, but it's a different actor. And someone on Reddit, when the trailer was posted, people were talking about holy shit, that guy playing young Newt is incredible, and someone was like, yeah, I thought that was Eddie Redmayne until I came here to the comments, and someone just replied to that and said, do you have face blindness? And it was just so fun, just reading it in the most deadpan, or genuinely questioning,
out of concern and less out of mockery. This movie features the first time in the Beasts franchise that actors from the Harry Potter movies have reprised their roles. Do you know who? Because you'll miss it. You'll blink and miss it.
One of them's the painting of it's Aberforth, or
that's in the third one. But good call, yeah, of Ariana Dumbledore,
Ariana Grande Dumbledore.
No,
what was the question?
So there are 2 actors in Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald who we'd previously seen play the same characters in Harry Potter.
Yeah. Pass.
So it is Stranger Things Season 4's own Jamie Campbell Bower, who returns as young Grindelwald. He, of course, plays... do you mind if I give a small spoiler for Stranger Things Season 4?
No.
He plays Vecna in Stranger Things Season 4.
AKA 1, AKA...
Yeah, exactly.
Henry?
Yeah, Henry.
Yeah,
and Toby Regbo...
I watched the first of the 2 episodes that came out yesterday, because I went to a watch party.
Are you up to date?
No, I've watched the first episode and that episode. And by the first episode, I mean the first episode of season 1.
God damn it, Rich. Crazy, man.
I've just never watched Stranger Things, but I went to a barbecue / watch party, and then I got stuck watching this 2-hour episode of television.
So Tony Regbo also appears as young Dumbledore. Both are briefly seen in Deathly Hallows Part 1, and they are barely in this, just in sort of quick, sort of vague flashbacks. And I find this significant because outside of these appearances and the occasional use of Hedwig's theme, which is sort of hinted at in the first film, but given the full return when you go back to Hogwarts.
It's treated as Hogwarts theme.
Yeah. This series, other than these 3 moments, I always thought it was not explicitly a prequel to the movies. Like, you could see these as prequels to the books, but with these things, both the actors returning and the music returning, that to me is the only thing that makes it explicitly, no, these are prequels to the Harry Potter movies.
I would almost guarantee it's going to change in number 5. Yeah, we're gonna get baby James Potter or something.
Oh, so that it's going to. What do you mean?
We're gonna get some fucking bullshit in the 5th one where they go like, oh yes, like it turns out that this person was Harry's dad, and then we see grown up James or some stupid shit.
I've googled it. James Potter was born in 1960, and they've said that Fantastic Beasts will end in 1945.
Yeah. They've got a time turner. They'll fucking work it out.
Fun fact, though, in about 2 weeks after the first film, where it's canonically set, Tom Riddle is born.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
There, that'll be it. We'll see him be like, oh, I hate this name, and he will have like little newspaper cutouts of Tom Marvolo Riddle.
Oh my god, he'll be like
in 1945. He'll be
20. Like in his late teens.
Yeah.
Oh, Voldemort's totally going to be in these. It's going to come out that like Caleb Landry Jones has been cast as Tom Riddle in Fantastic Beasts 5. The birth of Voldemort. We call that.
Oh yeah, it fucking will be, because we'll talk about titles. We'll get to titles.
All right. I made a really funny joke. We just stopped recording to save everything, and I just feel like it was funny enough. Do you agree, or is it not funny?
It was funny.
And I've
been hogging all the jokes. I've been like Drax and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I've been owning the jokes in this podcast.
I was saying how the weirdest thing about the titles, and we'll talk about the titles later, but
here's a little teaser.
But how it's like, it's the weird thing about calling it Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald is that these are clearly two entirely separate concepts that are being smashed together, and it's like just Fantastic Beasts as a moniker is such a broad term, and it'd be like if it was called Animals and the Bourne Identity. All right, let's move on to Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. Another very relevant, a very well put together title. This came out in 2022. It came out about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And guess who it was directed by?
Oh,
who would do it? Who would step up to the challenge? Richard?
I'm sure Alfonso Cuarón is looking for work at the moment.
Looking for work?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, this was once again directed by David Yates, the fucking hog. The hog of the franchise.
Yeah.
Like, he's like eating all the food at the Christmas lunch. You know, like,
he's hogging it.
Everyone's like, could I maybe get a bit of creme brulee? And he's like, no, it's mine. What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
45.
46 on Rotten Tomatoes, and this score makes the Fantastic Beasts trilogy the third lowest, and second lowest films in the Wizarding World franchise.
Wow.
Great spin-off, gang. Great work. What is this one about? Come on, this one's a little bit easier.
There's a little baby deer that chooses the president of wizards. And they go, that's what it's about.
I know, yeah, exactly.
They go on like, it's like a heisty kind of thing where they have to go and infiltrate so Grindelwald doesn't become leader of the wizards.
Yeah, Grindelwald's trying to hack the election.
Yeah, it is funny because you watch these movies like this where you're like, damn, like the system's so fucked. Like how this could never actually happen? It's so far-fetched. And then the Supreme Court goes and fucking does their thing, and you go,
the Council of Six.
And you go, yes, the world is still a horrible place where we could so easily have a Grindelwald ourselves.
If only. What did you think of this film, which we haven't nearly explained enough of the plot, but maybe it'll
doesn't matter. Does not matter. It also turns out that Credence is actually not
Aberforth.
He's Dumbledore's
He's Aberforth
nephew.
Dumbledore's son.
Yeah.
So Albus Dumbledore's nephew, not brother. Presumably something added because everyone was so mad at the implication of there being another brother.
And so this one is J.K. Rowling and Steve Kloves, who, as I mentioned, wrote most of the Harry Potter movies. And so it does flow a bit more like a film. It's so interesting, this film, because like I said just before, I turned down an invitation to go see this with some people at my work I'm barely acquaintances with, but
they won't be listening to the podcast.
Nah. Well, they might, but they'll be like, "Oh, Fantastic Beasts! I love those films." But it's just this interesting thing where I'm kind of glad we're covering it for the podcast now, because there's a completionist in me that wants to, wants to be up to date with a franchise like this. But this was the first time I've ever hopped off a franchise like this. I mean,
Same.
I'm
guess, glad you brought this up.
I guess I would say like Star Wars I've hopped off of, but it hasn't had a theatrical release since I've decided I've hopped off. And you know what? As soon as there is one, I'll go see it. But this, like, I've never given up on a franchise before. And this was the first one where I had to make a conscious decision that this movie came out, like you said, only a couple months ago. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to see that. I haven't seen Jurassic World Dominion yet, but I intend to.
Same. We're in the same boat. Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't seen Lightyear yet either, but
no.
But these are all ones that it's like, I hope I get round to it, or if I miss it in cinemas, I will watch it on Disney Plus or whatever. But this I was just quite content to be super woke and say I'm not going to support this film. But
yeah, no, totally.
I mean, I downloaded it, I pirated it, and the quality suffered for that. There's a lot of scenes in these movies where they use the curse that they do in the Deathly Hallows Part 2, where the Hufflepuff's cup, where it just keeps duplicating. Everything that it touches in that the vault, it duplicates, and they do that, and so the screen is overcome with shit
CGI assets,
and then so the quality just really suffers when you're streaming a film. But the interesting thing though is that a large part of the film does hinge on needing duplicates of something, and they go, we'll go to this muggle fucking briefcase maker because he's the only person that can do it. Oh no, we have to avoid. No, then they enchant the stuff in it. Yeah. With the duplicating thing.
Yeah, there's this whole thing about we have to get multiple of Newt Scamander's suitcase, but we've got to do it the muggle way of just making duplicates. Yeah. You're fucking wizards! What are you talking about? Yeah. What a strange plot. A lot of this film is actually basically Grindelwald can see what we're doing, so half of us have got to do the wrong thing, which is an interesting idea for a plot. Yeah. I don't think very well executed in this.
Yeah. It's like J.K. Rowling heard the criticism of the last one, that it's people thought the plot was nonsensical, and it's well, I don't feel like writing a better plot, but how can I make that the plot? How can I motivate in the story that, and that's called good writing.
Yeah. I thought this one was all right. I think it's probably on par with the first one.
I guess I'm just more woke. More woke than you.
I think well, very cool. Aren't you the coolest guy in the room? I'm probably more woke than
you. Yeah. Well, I didn't say I was more tech savvy than you. You can be the lame nerd who knows how to not hit their microphone. And you know what? I'll just be an ally.
Because everyone is everything about this film, it's it's a 5-film franchise, and then this film comes out, it's maybe it won't be, maybe we'll end it here. It does have this finality to it that is, it replaces the constant sequel setups from the first two films. So in that sense, I thought it was more satisfying than the last two.
Yeah, I'll allow that.
And I thought the stuff with the chillin was all right. That's the name of the little deer, magical deer,
like a bouse.
And fun fact, chillin Yeah, it's spelled Qilin.
Because I watched it with subtitles.
Qilin are actually seen in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings as well. And I thought it was interesting that like a relatively obscure Chinese mythical creature would get 2 big screen appearances in the last year.
Wow.
So yeah. And they appear in the like Shangri-La area.
I assumed that would be weird. Yeah. They were just on. They were just on a bus in San Francisco.
They look very different in each movie, though. Very different interpretations of the same, drawn on papyrus drawings of what a Qilin would look like. The second half of the film I thought was better than the first half, which is a good thing, I guess.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm sorry. The big change here, though, and this is the Qilin in the room, the elephant in the room, is that Mads Mikkelsen joins the cast, replacing Johnny Depp as Grindelwald, who, by all accounts, was basically asked very nicely if he could leave so that they didn't have to fire him. This was, of course, after accusations of domestic abuse against Amber Heard became more prominent in the media. He apparently
lost a libel case in the UK.
Yeah, he apparently had filmed, some sources say 1, some sources say 3 scenes for the film before being replaced, and due to his contract, he was still paid in his actor's fee in full, which is estimated to be somewhere between $10 and $16 million for doing literally nothing, instead of basically nothing, which is what Depp has been doing for about 15 years before this.
Hot damn.
Yeah. The recast with Mads Mikkelsen is interesting, I think, for several reasons. Mainly that the change in appearance is not acknowledged by anyone in the film, despite the character famously having a previously established track record of changing appearance. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't question it. If it was like, I don't know, like Kowalski got recast, I'd be like, well, they're just dealing with an actor being recast. But when it's a character who has been 2 separate famous actors already, it feels weird to then have him change.
Like, they have to recast him again, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Exactly. He should be someone else in the next one.
It is more believable that you would fall in love with Mads Mikkelsen, who just looks like Mad Mikkelsen, rather than like wacky Johnny Depp, like who spun the wheel of wacky and and just like, when it landed on the one, he
did an extra spin.
Yeah, he did an extra spin. Yeah. It just landed on mustache and free spin.
I think it's interesting that you bring that up, because I think it's weird almost, though. Like, I understand why you do it from like a you don't want to be stupid point of view, but in a like from like a canon point of view, it's strange that they didn't recreate Grindelwald's iconic look, and it's just Mads Mikkelsen with a blonde streak in his hair. And again, I get it's a recast, but it's so funny to see such specific character design choices made for like one version of the character, and then when you're forced to recast, you don't keep any of them. Like, Johnny Depp doesn't look like that in real life either. You know, like, and it'd be like recasting Harry Potter and he doesn't have glasses and a lightning scar anymore. Like, I get that I can acknowledge that Mads Mikkelsen would look insane with bleach blonde hair and a moustache and a weird eye.
Well, that's the thing. Like, when he was cast, I was like, my main thing was like, I can't wait for this film because I want to see what he looks like with his weird eyes and his weird hair and his weird moustache and his real pale skin. And then, it's reduced to a single streak in his hair. Like,
it's very strange.
It should have been Mads from the start. Like,
it should have been Mads from the start. And the blonde streak as well is like the guy from Stranger Things is still shown in this film as being young Grindelwald, who looks a bit more like the Johnny Depp version, but now it's like he grew up to be Mads Mikkelsen. I think the other thing I thought was interesting is this like maybe the 3rd or 4th time that Mikkelsen, an incredible actor, I think, has been cast in a major franchise in what has been a pretty thankless and unnotable role. What did you think of Mads Mikkelsen as Grindelwald?
I think he's pretty thankless and not unnotable.
He's not thankless. I'm saying like
I didn't see him say thank you for the role.
No, okay, that's true. He was thankless. Is this what you want? Is this what you want, Richard?
I thought he could have been a lot more polite to the crew, from what I understand.
Like Newt Scamander, the best character in these movies, because he's so polite.
But I mean, because he's in terms of like ticking all the fucking nerd boxes, he's in J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. He's in the James Bond universe. He's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's in Star Wars. And he's probably in another one. He's in Yarg 10 The Hunt.
I feel like his role in Casino Royale and Hannibal, as he plays the character on TV, or did play him, I feel like those are the only...
Those are his thankful roles.
Those are his thankful roles, because you cast Mads Mikkelsen in something and everyone goes, oh, that's so good. When Mads Mikkelsen was cast
Death Stranding? Yeah.
was recast as Grindelwald, I was like, he should have been Grindelwald from the start. But, like, this always happens. He gets cast in Doctor Strange or Star Wars, and it's like, oh, what great casting. And then I don't remember anything the characters do, any of his characters, get up to in those movies.
Yeah. Wait a second. Have we heard the title for... We haven't... Because he's supposed to be appearing next year in, according to Wikipedia, Indiana Jones and the Order of Elysium.
I've not heard that as the title yet.
Yeah, you click on the link to it and it says Untitled Indiana Jones film.
That feels made up, but that's not true. But if it is, you heard it here first, folks. You know what? I bet he's going to be forgettable in Indiana Jones and the Order of Elysium.
Yeah.
Mikkelsen opted not to emulate Depp's performance. This is on the record. He stated in an interview that it would be creative suicide, but acknowledged that there still needed to be some sort of bridge between what came before. I think there is a very distinct severing from what came before, and I think he's just sort of playing Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Kevin Guthrie. Do you know who that is?
No.
Well, you're going to wish you didn't know. He played Abernathy in the first two installments. He's a wizard, like Ministry of Magic, like aura in the first film, and then he betrays everyone and joins Grindelwald in the second film. Right. But he is not in the third film.
Oh, was he busy?
He was busy getting convicted in a sexual assault case, which adds just another
like
colourful character to the troubling set of associated individuals with the Fantastic Beasts films. Because, I mean, of course, between this and the last film, so between Crimes of Grindelwald and Secrets of Dumbledore, this is when all the J.K. Rowling turf stuff came out, It went from being like, you're a bad person because you told everyone that wizards shit their pants, to you're a bad person because you invalidate the most vulnerable people
you
group
metaphorically
on the planet.
Shat your own pants.
And I feel like all that stuff just really sank her reputation. And as you were saying before, like I feel like it severely impacted my hype for this movie. I mean, so did the last film. And I actually personally, between the last film being awful and all the J.K. Rowling stuff, I was like, I'm not going to see this film. I'm not going to support it. I'm not going to support a film I won't like made by a person I don't like.
Yeah, for the record, Kevin Guthrie got out of prison while Secrets of Dumbledore was still in cinemas.
Great stuff.
He was in prison for 3 years. He was freed in May 2022. So yeah. What's he up to now?
And the only reason I've watched it now is because our lovely patrons voted Harry Potter for the next one. And here we are, watching this movie. I was so proud of myself as someone who likes to see every movie. I was so proud of myself for not going to I was like, this is probably the biggest blockbuster in 10 years I haven't gone out to see.
We talked about this, though, that the Planet of the Apes movies, we just, we liked, we just never saw in the cinema.
True. This is the opposite of that. I didn't like this, but I guess I didn't see it in the cinema. So it's not the exact opposite.
Case closed.
Gellert Grindelwald has been played by 5 different actors. Colin Farrell, Johnny Depp, Jamie Campbell-Bower, Mads Mikkelsen, and Michael Byrne, who plays him in one of the Deathly Hallows movies, which is a lot for a character who's only really in 2 movies, isn't it? That's a lot of... He's got to break some kind of record.
Yeah. I mean, Lord Voldemort's played by 6 people.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he has significant roles and across more movies where it makes sense to cast.
Yeah, but I mean, Grindelwald's going to be in more.
Well, has there ever been one character who's been played by more recognizable faces than Grindelwald then? in such a small amount of movies. Are you Googling that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to find anything.
No, I am. Tony.
Who?
Tony.
Who's Tony?
Tony Shepard.
Who's that?
From the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Ah, of course. Thank you.
You fucking fool!
There is one really good scene in this
by
movie.
your own petard.
This movie is one of those bad movies that has a scene which makes you go, why couldn't the whole movie have been this? And that's when Newt is breaking his forgettable brother Theseus out of a German prison. And
they're walking like crabs, and it's
They're walking silly. Like crabs. But shut up! It's a good scene.
It's not silly!
There's these crabs that apparently they're manticores, is what Eddie Redmayne called them in an interview, and they, he has to dance so they don't attack him, and then he has to take his very serious brother out while he's also dancing, and it's just like, this is what all of these movies should be comprised of, is moments like this where everyone's dancing.
I did think that it kind of reminded me of what these movies might be like if they were a little bit more like Indiana Jones, and I just want to dwell on that for a moment.
Just a second, Richard, because is there anything else you'd like to talk about with The Secrets of Dumbledore?
It's bad.
Okay. We talk about titles a lot on this podcast, and Richard, I've got a question for you. Is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them a sequel-proof title? Is that a title that no matter what you think of, you're not going to come up with a good sequel title for?
Well, because everyone just assumed it was going to be, you were going to change where to find them, how to find them, and how to cook them,
how to prepare them, culinarily,
how to cook 440 Fantastic Beasts.
But the thing is, even if the second one was called Fantastic Beasts and How to Find Them, I feel like that's not distinct enough that it would excite people.
Yeah, you're changing one word in like a 50-word title.
Yeah, you also can't add words because it's already too long, and so you can't call it Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them: The Crimes of Grindelwald, which would have been still bad. And what they went with is like a reflection of their increasing move away from the central premise of what the franchise says is going to be.
I'm going to be honest, they probably did. If you were locked into that first title and you were given reins of the franchise, they probably did the best thing they could do.
I mean, only because they wanted to make it about Grindelwald.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like they shouldn't have named the first one that,
Or should they have just called the next one The Crimes of Grindelwald?
Yeah, I did think that as well. But then, I mean, you kind of need that, though, the little subby T at the bottom, the subtitle. But, maybe if it was treated more as a cinematic universe sort of thing, and I think that's probably what they should have done with it, is that the first one, you'd make very much this, and then the second one is like very much about the crimes of Grindelwald, and Kowalski's not in it, but Newt shows up, and then the Secrets of Dumbledore, like Kowalski's back, and he's been imprisoned by Queenie for several years, and it's wacky, but it's wacky and fun.
They get back together in Secrets of Dumbledore. It's lovely. It's beautiful stuff. So I posted on Twitter today and I got no response, so I posted to the Discord. Creative exercise: if you were to keep the sentence structure of the first film, what would you title the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them sequels? I wrote, you can ignore the plots of the actual sequels. If all you were tasked with doing was coming up with cool sequel titles. And I thought I'd read out a couple of the suggestions we got. Vote Swagtastic Dragons Josh said, Fantastic Beasts and the Evolving World, Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets They Hide or Keep, Fantastic Beasts and How to Tame Them, and Fantastic Beasts and Why to Observe Them from a Safe Distance. A bit of a funny one in there.
That is incredibly funny.
Dan from Hawaii Van Mode, I think these might be the best alternate titles I've heard in all my years of researching better titles for the Fantastic Beasts sequels.
I'll be the judge of that.
Dan suggested Fantastic Beasts Abroad and Fantastic Beasts Within, which makes a lot more sense if you don't want to keep and Where to Find Them as such a long and cumbersome subtitle, then making it like they're now 3 words long and the last word is a qualifier for the Fantastic Beasts themselves. I think that's an interesting way to take the titles that I had not thought of or heard of before. Fantastic Beasts Beyond, and it's in space. Fantastic Beasts in Space. Rachel, We Are the Collective, suggested Fantastic Beasts and How They Came to Be, which could
How
be
they came
fun.
to Beast.
Oh, even better. And Tim Tarbell123 Watch Along Baron said, Crimes of Grindelwald should have been fantastic things and where to hide them, referencing both the hidden emotions of the romance plots, Credence Lost Heritage, Nagini being a fugitive, etc., and Secrets of Dumbledore could have been fantastic things and how to see them, characters seeing things via precognition, and Grindelwald's sleight of hand with the goat creature thing. That is what I came up with just off the cuff. I think beasts get de-emphasized so much that by the end that it becomes the most droppable word in the scheme, which is another interesting tactic of doing it. What if it is fantastic blank and weird blank blank blank? You know, what if that's the
forbidden love and where to hide them?
Yeah, what if we go on a macro lens and try to actually, we zoom out and try to, which is actually the opposite of what a macro lens does. We zoom out and try to actually keep the structure of the sentence. Yeah. Maybe fantastic is the only word we keep, or maybe
fantastic voyage and going inside someone.
Adjective, noun, and what the da-da-da, maybe that's what it
dang
heck. Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts and what incarnation?
I think Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is such a great title for the first one.
It's a fun title,
And this is adding extra words, but if you really wanted to be simple with it, you could go Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, 2nd edition. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, 3rd edition. I think
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them 2.
But I feel like they wouldn't do that because the Harry Potter movies didn't do that.
No, see, AJ.
Oh,
you weren't listening. It's TOO.
Oh! Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them Now.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Set Them Free, but it's 3.
Where to Set Them Free. That's a good title. I'm going to come back to that.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Set Them Free.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on to our final fun segment to the franchise, we do just have to quickly open up the safe. Shorty got a lot to say.
We've got our own David Yates-esque segment. Not this. Sorry, I meant the ranking.
No, this is Meeting of the Elders, where if you go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/cultpopture, and you sign up to our Cult Elders tier, we actually ask your thoughts on the franchise of the Fortnight, and we've got some fun people to talk about their fun opinions for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So, first of all, we've got from Scotty Doesn't Know. He says, these films commit the worst crimes a film can make. Of Grindelwald. No.
I was going to say that.
Being completely uninteresting. You can tell the cast are trying hard, but there's no meat in this sandwich. It's just plain white bread.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's... the build-up going into this, it was, and, all these actors would have been so excited to join J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, and it's they're trying with hard. You watch the first movie, you're like, all right, but it could be, the second movie could make or break it, and then, but I mean, I guess good on them for still trying.
Pre from Michigan says, I haven't seen the third yet, and if I do, it'll be for mads only. The first two have some interesting to great parts buried in bland nothingness. Colin Farrell was awesome, plain and simple. Fogler was funny in the heart of the movies. The main character seems to be a good representation of neurodiversity, with it just being part of his characterization and not being a plot device or a main drive of the movie. The setting and feel is interesting. Nagini being previously a human I found compelling, even if it doesn't quite seem to fully fit with the Nagini in the books. Also, the type of curse she adds to the world building of the Wizarding World. I think he's saying they like that. Jude Law's young Dumbledore is good casting. However, Dumbledore how Dumbledore dresses looks cool, but it flies in the face of style knowledge of Dumbledore and wizards in general Harry Potter days. Somehow wizards completely lost all concept of how muggles dress, apparently, in the time gap between the two series. Yeah, because he's wearing a nice three-piece suit kind of thing in these movies, but he was wearing granddad jammies and the other ones. I like the idea of Grindelwald not wanting wizards to hide, but to come forward and guide/lead, but I feel like he kind of just becomes another Voldemort ideology. I totally agree. They could have done a better job of showing him as a charismatic character that you could believe Dumbledore fell in love with before realizing he's gone too far and being more evil than ambitious for a better world.
That's a good, like, Mads thing versus Johnny Depp thing, I would say. Like, Johnny Depp, you have a comic booky, sort of cartoonish looking villain. And it's like, well, yeah, he's just evil. You know, maybe if we had flashbacks or, you know, he's cursed to look like that. But yeah, like Mads Mikkelsen, just, you know, handsome guy with a blonde streak in his hair. You can be like, oh, this dude's charismatic. And I think like that should be, because, you know, Voldemort is like the Dark Lord. And it would be so much more interesting to have like this charismatic cult leader. And so you actually have a difference between Voldemort and Grindelwald.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the greatest indictment on the series that halfway through Secrets of Dumbledore, I was like, have we not fucking seen this before? Like, I've already seen, like, an evil wizard vying for political power. Yeah. You know, like, this is the problem
the 2016 election.
Or every presidential election for the last 200 years. But it's like it's the same thing again. And dark days ahead, we've all got to bandy together because there's an evil wizard. It's like, this was done better in Harry Potter. So why even do the similar thing here? Yeah. Pre also says, Clarence is just a mess of a character who should have made it past the first movie. I have no idea who Clarence is. I don't know who's Clarence.
I believe they're probably talking about Credence.
Okay. Alrighty. Cheese says, Fantastic Beasts, only watched the first one, which I like. I think the lead is great, as well as his muggle friend. The beasts are very cool. I've never watched the second, as I heard it was terrible, and one of the good witches becomes a fascist or something. Pirated the third, but have yet to watch it, and will only do so for Mads Mikkelsen.
I love
good
that
stuff.
Review. The beasts are very cool.
Very cool beasts, and where to find them. Vince Scamander says, I remember the build-up to Fantastic Beasts was just meh for me. I didn't have that attachment to the franchise anymore and just saw this as a way to milk the series. I liked the first film enough and enjoyed Colin Farrell as the main bad, but the second he became Johnny Depp and a very Depp choice of character design, my interest died. I used a gift card to see Crimes of Grindelwald in theaters, and God, what was that a waste? Why the fuck is Newt trying to fight Wizard Hitler? Hey look, it's Dumbledore. Hey look, it's Nicholas Flamel. Hey look, did you see the Philosopher's Stone? Quick, get another shot of it. Have zero interest in seeing Secrets of Dumbledore. I didn't even watch the Harry Potter reunion on HBO Max. This franchise will stay in my childhood memories as a reminder that not everything needs to keep going. And also, fuck J.K. Rowling.
This is interesting. Yeah, there's something we didn't actually talk about because you're so far up Newt Scamander's butt. But, like, I do... why is Newt, like, still in these films?
No, that's to me, it's the films should be about Newt. Like, Grindelwald's the problem. Yeah, the film should be about Newt.
Like, even more so, like, the fact that Kowalski is just, like, goes on an adventure with... But, like, I was so conflicted because, like, they go to Hogwarts and he, like, gets some fucking cockroach clusters from some Slytherin kids. And I'm like... And I genuinely had this moment, I'm like, is him being at Hogwarts the worst thing I've seen in this franchise or the best? Like, I genuinely can't tell. Like, I was like, do I want to just see, like, you know, because that's what you do with the sequel, right? Is like, the magical world comes to him and he's like, what's going on? Sequel, you take him to the magical world. And, you know, that's what they did with Thor the Dark World, and that worked. But it's like, it just seems like, you know, you have someone, you know, react to a new world and then you still get to be like, oh, it's new. But yeah,
I also thought that when they out Grindelwald as enchanting the dead Chillin to get it to bow to him, and then they get the real Chillin and it bows to Dumbledore, I was like, that's such a lame decision to have the Chillin bow to Dumbledore because like, first of all, like, not only is it expected, but like, it shouldn't bow to Dumbledore. He's not pure of heart. That's what makes him a complete interesting character. No, Richard. Fuck off. Because he's, like, made bad decisions and, like, was nearly a Nazi. I don't think he's pure of heart. And then as I was watching it, I was like, God, imagine if it bowed to Kowalski.
The only Muggle there, yeah.
Yeah, well, that would be
Sorry, I
fantastic.
shouldn't say
Beasts and where to find them. No, but instead, the Chillin, if you haven't seen the movie, bows to a character who I guess has been there the whole time that I did not pay any attention to. It was like, who's that? Fantastic Beasts, and who's that?
The new Figwit.
Dan from Hawaii, Van Mode, says, I watched this entire trilogy, one in theatres, and I have little memory of 70% of what happens in each. Here are haiku reviews I wrote immediately after watching each. Fantastic Beasts, 3 out of 5. Overuse, this is the haiku. Overuse of CGI, engaging supporting cast, plot went randomly. Crimes of Grindy, they gave 1.5 out of 5, and wrote, trop des personnages, which is French. Exposition came too late. Why did I watch this? And for Secrets of Dumb, they gave 2 out of 5 and wrote, really cool set pieces, dragged down by the main plot line. Rolling's an asshole. Fantastic Beasts, they continue, Fantastic Beasts, I enjoyed this, it's fun, it's fine, it's interesting enough without being special. I really love Dan Fogler in this. His character is the highlight and the heart of the film, endearing and compelling. His entire arc really touched me. Then they decide to bring him back for crimes, and I found that undermines his entire journey in the first film, especially with his consent being under question this time. I saw the first film in theatres, and it's one of the only films out of 4 that I've ever walked out of. I rolled my eyes when Nicholas Flamel showed up for the first time, and I full on threw my arms up when he showed up again out of nowhere for the finale. GIF below, and it's that very funny GIF of Jerry Seinfeld in that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where he's like, I'm getting out of here. So I left within the middle of the climax because I found I literally did not give a shit. Way too many characters and too many plot lines and too many exposition dumps. I loved all the characters who were trying to their best to save this film from its material, but alas. As for Secrets of Dumbledore, I'm not the first to say this, but I don't like Johnny Depp's Grindelwald and find he's been phoning it in for every movie since the mid-2000s. I was so happy to find that Mad's performance was so compelling and magnetic. I don't know if I agree. I can fully understand how he got such a loyal following versus Mad Eye Depp. I do agree with that. I loved the dancing crawfish scene, and that's about it.
It's interesting though that I would say Dan hasn't seen the second film because they walked out of it. Have you ever walked out of a film? You haven't.
Yeah. No, I've got real shameful walkout stories. I'll tell you later.
Oh, okay. I've never walked out.
I've told you, I walked out of The King's Speech as the most egregious one.
Yeah. The only film I walked out of was Little Women, and that was just because Jess was sick and we had to go home. And then I went back and watched it 2 days later.
Sick of empowered women.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Finally, my neighbour Craig says, my kids, obsessed with Harry Potter books and films, watched a trailer for a Fantastic Beasts movie and said, that looks dumb. Thank you, lovely ladies. They have been on the podcast before where they offered similar insight into Barbie. So is Craig. Cool. Alrighty. Well, that is meeting adjourned for the meeting of the elders. And Richard, now we're going to move on to continue the franchise where you and I continue the Fantastic Beasts franchise against our better judgment. So outside of all the Wizarding World follow-ups that we discussed last week, while it was initially pitched as at least a trilogy, in 2016 Rowling announced that there would be 5 Fantastic Beasts films taking us through to 1945 canonically, not in real life. It's not going back in time. With Yates also revealing that same year that he would be directing all 5 films. Hurrah. Stating, I love making films and I've got a great team, all of whom are like family. All of this being said, though, whether or not the next 2 happen was dependent upon the financial success of the third, and I remember after the second film bombed with critics, everyone was like, God, 5?! Everyone's like, are you serious?
And the third one is the lowest grossing in the Wizarding World franchise by quite a bit. They made like 400
million. It is COVID times, but I wonder if they'll take that into consideration.
Top Gun Maverick made $1 billion.
All right. Nothing is confirmed yet, but I suspect that Secrets of Dumbledore does a pretty good job of wrapping everything up. I would be surprised if we got a 4th one announced, to be honest. Apparently nothing's been written yet, nothing's gone ahead. So I reckon this could be it. I reckon we'll definitely see more Wizarding World films, but...
Yeah.
In terms of the future, though, we have already had some hints into the fate of Newt Scamander Did you know this? That in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban film, Newt Scamander's name can be seen on the Marauder's map, suggesting he's still alive in 1993 and wandering around Hogwarts at the age of 96. Some quick AJ maths will also tell you that this also means Dumbledore was only 28 when he was Newt's Hogwarts professor. I'm 29, and what have I done?
Nothing. You haven't fallen in love with any Hitlers.
Tell that to my ex-wife. The other indication we have of the future of Newt Scamander is that J.K. Rowling confirmed on her Twitter in June of 2015 that Tina...
that Newt Scamander pisses and shits himself.
that Tina is short for Porpentina. So Tina's the love interest in the first two films. She actually spoke out against J.K. Rowling's turfness and was suspiciously reduced in role in the third film. Very cool, Hollywood. So Tina is apparently short for Porpentina, and in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the book, in the About the Author section, Newt Scamander is noted as now living in Dorset with his wife Porpentina. And their
I wonder if it's the same Porpentina.
Neasels, Hoppy, Millie, and Mauler is the name of their pets. I should also probably mention Quidditch Through the Ages, which is another textbook. We mentioned it up top that Rowling wrote for the same charity event as Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This one is a history on the Quidditch in universe written by Quidditch fanatic Kenilworthy Wisp. It apparently has quite a revered audiobook narrated by Andrew Lincoln.
Nice.
And yeah, what's your continue the franchise?
Well, mine's actually Quidditch Through the Ages. Didn't come up with much more than that. Although my other idea was that what if you did a crossover with Eddie Redmayne's other film, The Danish Girl?
Right, because he plays a trans woman in it.
Mic drop!
Yeah, I wonder what the relationship between Eddie Redmayne and J.K. Rowling is now that they've both committed kind of I mean, Eddie Redmayne less venomously, but they're both not very popular. And
yeah, do you reckon J.K. Rowling's you get it? Because Eddie Redmayne, and this is more than these films. The thing that made me quite like Eddie Redmayne is his breaking down iconic characters video on YouTube. He seems like such a fucking dude. You just love to hang out with him. But he talks about The Danish Girl, and he talks about it as I probably wouldn't do this role now. It was just sort of as we started to have those discussions, and I don't look back on it that fondly, Yeah,
I've seen that as well. What do you think a Quidditch Through the Ages movie would look like? Would it be
I think it would cover
movie,
no, it would cover the history of Grindelwald. Quidditch Through the Ages, the return of Voldemort.
That's so funny.
That's the thing. The first one would be an underdog story of the person who created Quidditch or something. They all went on to win the first Quidditch World Cup, and then the second one would be about the assassination of Wizard Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
I gotta say, I think Quidditch, as we discussed before, is such a poorly designed sport that I actually don't want it to be expanded on at all through the ages. Maybe we can see a version of Quidditch from the 1800s that made more sense or something like that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, my contender franchise, Richard, as we talked about last week and as we've dropped a couple of hints to earlier in the episode, and as we've discussed before multiple times across Cult Popture, I passionately believe that the Fantastic Beasts series should have been inherently episodic in nature, much like Indiana Jones.
And the Order of Elysium.
With each film existing as its own complete story based around a specific fantastic beast and a specific where to find them, as opposed to the unnecessarily serialized bullshit that we ended up getting. We did an episode of the podcast in 2018 called Better Ideas for Harry Potter Spin-Offs, where we also mentioned the same idea. And in an episode of our forgotten 2020 web series, Ready to Record, we also did an episode which we mentioned this idea. And in the 2018
other forgotten web series as well, the Soda Popture. Or is that what you just
did
about
we
to say?
mention it in that as
Oh,
well?
I'm sure we did. We talked about Fantastic Beasts on it.
On the 2018 Better Ideas of Harry Potter spin-offs podcast, I basically went through the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them handbook and selected beasts which I thought could be fun central beasts in different movies, you know? And what I've done today is actually put together a pitch for the plot of an actual Fantastic Beasts trilogy, borrowing from both the movies we actually got and Indiana Jones, and a bunch of making it like a celebration of film and a trilogy as a concept, probably to the extent where I don't think J.K. Rowling would really like it very much. She would probably not think it's her thing.
Right.
But I'm going to read you a pitch for a trilogy going film by film. So the first one is called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and my version borrows heavily from the actual versions, but I've basically removed all the Grindelwald stuff, who is not mentioned in the film anymore. So set in 1926, Newt Scamander arrives in New York. There's all the stuff with the New Salem Philanthropic Society, which are the witch hunters, the Christian fundamentalist Christian witch hunters. There's all the stuff with Kowalski, Tina, and Queenie. They're all still here, and the plot of the film is basically the suitcases get mixed up, the beasts get out, Newt and Tina have to go to find them against the backdrop of these Salem witch trials revival. That acts as the what the Nazis are like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, is these witch trials resurgence happening, right? Newt is eventually wrongfully blamed for letting loose the Obscurus, or the Obscurial, which in this version, the fact that it's actually a person is a twist. It's revealed at the end of the movie, instead of being
Presumably
told
it's
what
some
it is
little girl, not her older brother, right?
I actually have kept it as credence. Where we find out that one of the guys from this Salem group, Credence, is the Obscurus. Percival Graves is still here, and the antagonistic force coming from the Ministry, and is not revealed to be Grindelwald. He's just Percival Graves. There's no, he just always was Percival Graves, and the Salem group and Credence serve as the main supernatural obstacle kind of thing. Well, actually not supernatural, unsupernatural. I guess Credence is supernatural. In the climax, Newt manages to successfully remove the Obscurus from Credence without killing him, who is then taken in by the Ministry, and I thought maybe he's sent off to Hogwarts to maybe have, and it's implied he has a happy ending because now he's being treated as, because an Obscurus is born when a wizard is suppressing his powers, so Credence at the end is allowed to explore.
Sounds to me like he has a Harry ending.
Exactly.
Like Harry Potter.
Yeah, I get it.
From Harry Potter on the...
Oh, I thought you meant from Troll.
Troll 2, yeah. Or from Littleton.
What?
I remember a news story about or maybe it was Diamond Harbour, someone who lived on the other side of Banks Peninsula, whose name was Harry Potter. And
right, okay. Shout out.
You
to
don't
that
remember
guy.
this obscure news story from 21 years ago? For shame.
Another change, Newt and Tina's relationship in the film is 100% platonic. It's never really in question. They don't even really like each other that much. Instead of developing a budding romance, I'm changing it to they grow to respect.
Right.
Well, they're from different sides of the law, basically, but they grow to respect each other. With
Falling
the
in
romance,
love wasn't part of the plan.
No, exactly. The romance in the film will come solely from Queenie and Kowalski is still obliviated at the end of the film, but Newt still gives him the eggs so that he's able to open his bakery with that collateral. And the final scene in the film is Queenie showing up in Kowalski's bakery and smiling at him. We never revisit these characters again. That is the last time.
Right?
No. That is the last time we see Kowalski and Queenie. Most of my changes come down to removing stuff from the film we have, but that's okay. Let's get this movie down to 90 minutes, I reckon. 2 hours,
now
12
you're
minutes.
Speaking my language I'm putting down, what you're picking
Yeah. All right. Fantastic Beasts and Where They Come From is our second film. This is very much the Ace Ventura When Nature Calls to the first film, because while the original saw the Fantastic Beasts...
Because he crawls out of a niffler's butt.
No, when the original saw Fantastic Beasts in an urban setting. This one features Newt visiting the wild realms of the beasts themselves. Set in 1924, which you may note makes this film actually a prequel. And
you're doing the Indiana Jones thing.
A nod to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, though it's never brought up beyond the the year being shown. We join Newt Scamander in the enchanted forests of China, where he is trying to observe and help the magical Qilin give birth. Much like in Secrets of Dumbledore, Newt and the Qilin are attacked, the mother is killed, and one of her two young is kidnapped. This all happens in Secrets of Dumbledore, and Newt saves the other one. After learning that the young Qilin has been kidnapped by an evil witch intending on using its divination powers to make her the head of the International Confederation of Wizards, so it's still what Grindelwald does, I'm just not making it a Grindelwald anymore, Newt is forced to turn to his older sister for help. And she is a witch who works for the Ministry of Magic, and get this, is a distinct and different character from Newt in every way, and it's fun to see the two actors interact together. Who do you think would be a good foil to Newt Scamander?
Emma Stone.
Emma Watson.
Harry Potter. Sean Connery.
Along the way, the two siblings are also joined by a squib, so a magical person, or person born to wizards without magical powers. And this squib, he acts as their guide, but also a brief but very wholesome love interest for Newt, confirming that Newt is in fact gay. An element of his character hinted at in the first film, and then not really even gone into in the third, which allows us to have a gay protagonist whose homosexuality is not his entire character. It's only really relevant for one film. He's more into, like, his studies.
He's more into chicks.
No. Anyway, they all go on an adventure through some fun magical locations in China, including the scene pulled directly from Secrets where Newt rescues now it's his sister from the dungeon by dancing and swiveling with the lobster crab things. A big part of the comedy of this franchise will come from the fact that Newt is a tender and shy character who seems to happily dance like no one's watching when it comes to interacting with fantastic beasts and communicating with them, whom he understands more than people. The end of the film plays out pretty similarly to the Walk of the Qilin, but we replace all these dumb legacy characters with characters unique to the film. The film also takes place against the backdrop of the real-life 1924 Beijing coup and its devastating fallout, all of which creates trouble for the wizarding world as they try in secret to hold their magical ritual for a leader who ends up being a dictator, while China's doing the exact same thing, but without magic. After the main witch villain is exposed as a fraud, the Qilin bows to the Squib character, meaning the responsibility of running the wizarding world has fallen to someone who can't even use magic, and he nonetheless steps up to the plate, and Pottermore lets us know that he led the wizarding world valiantly for many years. What I like about this is that it's a really cool, like, if that feels like a proper progressive message to be like to like retroactively undo. It
doesn't matter who you're related to.
Yeah, and or if you're born with power or not, you're still pure of heart and you still have the right to lead. This will, I think, go down as the best film in the trilogy, and it's one that I'm basically took Secrets of Dumbledore and tinkered with it. Yeah. Years later, we get a film I haven't quite landed on a title for
Fantastic
yet.
Beasts Jr. This time, he's bought his dad.
Ms. Fantastic Beasts. I'm thinking something along the lines of Fantastic Beasts and Where They Lead Us, or Fantastic Beasts and Where We Follow Them, or Fantastic Beasts and Where They Go. What did you say before I quite liked?
Where to Set Them Free.
Yeah, I like that.
Or what about Fantastic Beasts and What They Teach Us?
Yeah, very good. I was trying to keep it to Where, but I think if these go beyond 3, then you wouldn't need to keep it to solely Where. Okay, set at 1932, the third film, though not necessarily the final film in the series, will take us on a globe-trotting and possibly swashbuckling journey I haven't quite figured out just yet, but I like the idea of it focusing on a fantastic beast or beasts who are associated with death or the afterlife or moving on to the afterlife. So Fantastic Beasts and Where They Go, or Where They Lead Us. Wow. I think this is a really cool place to take the series, especially in what we'll feel at the time like it's probably the last one they'd make for a few years, capping off a trilogy, and I think that's a cool place to take it. I think Newt in this film will be dragged along, possibly against his will, by a boisterous and seemingly shallow wizard explorer who, after receiving a prophecy about his death, seeks to destroy the various, and this is a real term, psychopomps, which is a magical creatures associated with ferrying souls to the afterlife. Right. Angels are psychopomps, for example. Right. So this is to prevent his prophesied death from coming true. He was prophesied a death. This character will begin the story as the villain, but end up being a sympathetic mix of Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean and Long John Silver from Muppet Treasure Island and I assume Treasure Island. His relationship with Newt becomes mentorly. He's almost like the Dumbledore role in the actual movies. And it makes and maybe in the end we discover he is actually in love with one of these psychopomps, and it makes it all a bit more complex and grandly romantic, very very swashbuckly kind of thing. Very, very Harry Potter-esque as well, I think, with considering Snape and all that sort of thing. This film takes place against the backdrop of the Grindelwald-Dumbledore conflict, who can briefly appear in this film, I've decided, but we don't really learn more about their dynamic. It's more that their battle creates practical obstacles for the main characters, just like the Nazis in The Last Crusade or the Salems in the first film. It's the background conflict that creates the setting with which we go on this adventure with these characters. Obviously, the less developed of the three, but that's okay. Yeah. The series is basically designed so that narratively they can be watched in any order. The only thing you gain from watching them in release order is more like, oh, you came to know Newt Scamander? Well, in the second film, you get to meet his sister. It's more like a spiritual character expansion as opposed to narrative continuation or serialized lore. There are only 3 characters who appear in all 3 films. These are Newt Scamander, Pickett the Bowtruckle, and Teddy the Niffler, who provides hilarious greedy antics all throughout, as he does in the actual films.
He climbs out of his butt in the second one.
Exactly. I also think we pull John Williams out of retirement and give the series its own distinct theme music. I don't want to use Hedwig's. It would go da 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 da. Yes, thank you. I don't want to use Hedwig's theme until the third film, where we briefly visit Hogwarts for a scene. He meets Harry Potter. Very briefly. The light just went out. That was spooky. Thank you.
Solidarity.
And that is my pitch for what Fantastic Beasts should have been, obviously, in
Fantastic
my mind.
Beasts and what they should have been.
Right? What do you think? Come on.
I think it's pretty stupid. You clearly didn't put a lot of effort into it.
So you never give me praise for this shit.
No, it's good. It's good. So you said the second one would be the best one, but how would the other 2 rank?
I reckon that the first one is popular enough to garner a sequel. The third one is maybe the worst one.
I was going to say, I think the third one is the one that, it has its fans, definitely, but it felt to
Thunderdome
me... or the Back to the Future 3, where it's it doesn't feel like part of the same series. It's like, they wanted to do a swashbuckling one, and they clearly had fun doing it.
That's the one I might put most of my focus onto the second one, but I think a really good idea is doing a passing on to the afterlife storyline for the third one. And I do like the idea of a character who is compelled to prevent this from happening to him, but also is actually in love with like a banshee or something.
I think that we should see Dan Fogler in the third one, though. Just briefly. Just a little cameo.
But it's such a good love story if you never see it again.
No, he's running his bakery. They're running past, shooting beams at each other, and he's like, "Whoa, hey, I'm baking here." And then the camera lingers on him for a little bit too long, and then Queenie comes from the back of the counter and goes, "What's wrong, honey?" And then he's like, "Hey, I don't know." And then case closed.
Bada bing, bada boom. All right, you've convinced me.
Thank you. Rank Debt Franchise.
Alrighty, everybody. So if you go to our Letterboxd account over at letterboxd.com/cultpopture, we have got a list of all the franchises that we've ever watched, and we rank them. Now, this puts us in somewhat of a confusing space because I personally believe the ranking of Harry Potter should be affected by however low we rank Fantastic Beasts.
I disagree. Let's continue.
Okay, so where would you put Fantastic Beasts in off the top of your head? Is it below our midpoint, our nymphomaniac
it
constant?
Is, yeah. But I don't think it needs to be that much lower than it to be looking at the ones below it.
What's below it? Have you added it, or am I doing it?
I thought you would do it. Yeah, like it's probably in the 10 or so below it, I think.
What number is
72.
Okay, so beneath it we've got GoldenEye, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, The Mummy, Twilight, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I mean, I probably think it's maybe like it's above Twilight. I reckon it's between Twilight and The Mummy.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So you don't think that this should mean that Harry Potter is dragged down at all?
Nah.
Why not?
I don't believe
Why
it.
don't you want to engage with me in this conversation?
We've had this conversation so many times. I don't know. It's something that you've always felt passionate about that I've never been fully on board with. This tying a weight to a franchise.
I just think that because it if it wasn't ranked so much lower, I would feel the same, but I feel like if we're saying what's the best franchise of all time, I'm thinking now with I haven't seen Lightyear yet, but with the addition of Lightyear, it's that should probably affect our Toy Story ranking, which is number 2. Harry Potter is currently ranked at number 10. Do you think, beneath it is Indiana Jones, do you think that the addition of the Fantastic Beasts series makes it less worth your while than Indiana Jones?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think Indiana Jones it's intrinsically it's a fourth one that drags it down.
Okay,
Fantastic Beasts is an optional extracurricular activity that's bad, but it's not as good.
Okay, that's fine. All right, it is ranked at number 76.
Lit.
Well, Richard, we've come to the point in the show where it's time to decide what we're doing for our next franchise. And this week we went over to the Patreon and we were like, it's roughly our 6-year anniversary. What is it? You explain it.
Yeah, so we went over to the Patreon and we were like, it's roughly our 6-year anniversary. And yeah, normally we do a redux around this time, and what that means is that we redo a franchise we've previously covered. In previous years, have we done this? The first time we did it, we just put a poll up of all the franchises we covered in the first season of our show, so the mid to the end of 2016, and Spider-Man won, and then we did it again, and the Freddy vs. Jason one, and then we opened it up to first and second year, and the Mummy one, not even using anything from the second year. But this year we were like, we're keen to do something different. And we took it to the Discord, the Patreon, said, how do you guys want to do it? And what was decided was that we would put all 7 seasons of the show, including this season, would be 7 different polls. And we would
each representing a different Horcrux.
Yeah, and so we'd have polls open for 12 hours each, and then the winner of each season would then go forward to a grand final. So I'll go through what the options were for the grand final.
Okay.
So we had it's just loading, but we had Medea won season 1. Jurassic Park won season 2. Cats and Dogs won the next season. High School Musical. The Terminator. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Fantastic Beasts, which we're currently in the middle of doing. And then I also added No Redux as an option. So
I would have been so disheartened if No Redux won, even though I'd rather do No Redux than redo Fantastic Beasts for the second week in a row.
So, and it's almost all of these I kind of get. So, No Redux is, a vote for a new franchise, but I'll go through in reverse order from what was voted. So, with no votes in the grand final was Terminator, which I fully stand behind. It's that one to me is the least reason to vote for. Then, tied for second to last place, we have Cats and Dogs, which, has had a new film since we covered it, so that makes sense. And also No Redux. Sorry for wasting your time. Then, tied again, we have High School Musical. Again, we did that episode live. Might be nice to do an in-studio version of the episode. Evangelion was also tied with
something
High School
that
Musical.
benefits from...
Yeah, benefits from multiple watches, and I think we would probably get something new out of watching it again. And Then, in third place, we have Medea.
Whew, this got very close to first place.
This was winning for quite a while, but it's now it goes by percentage of total votes. It's 30% behind the next one.
Wow.
And then tied for first place, we have Jurassic Park, which has had 2 new movies since we covered it, and Fantastic Beasts, which we don't know how the episode will be received. We're currently recording it. So now...
Very funny, guys, for voting Fantastic Beasts.
I will admit, I think voting Fantastic Beasts is hilarious. I think, for a unique time where we've put up the idea of doing Fantastic Beasts, I think that's fucking hilarious to be able to make that win. And it's one that I'm happy enough to do, like, out of all the time. Like, it's 3 movies, it's whatever. And, it wouldn't be as funny if it was God's Not Dead or Fred, because it's like, okay, I haven't seen them in a couple of months. It had to be Fantastic Beasts. So
I get it. I get it. It ain't making me laugh, but I get it.
So now we're in the difficult... So I guess we're going to flip a coin or something.
Okay, can we just do Jurassic Park? This is insane to me. It's not... Like, Jurassic Park. Okay, Richard, stop flipping a coin. Richard, please stop. Wait, just let me explain.
All right. Are we going...
Think about the fact that there's 2 more films that we haven't discussed with Jurassic Park. Is it not clearly the better episode to do, patrons? Is it not?
All right. So, all right. Heads is Jurassic Park. Tails is Fantastic Beasts. Because dinosaurs have heads and beasts have tails.
They can swap titles.
Okay. Here we go.
I guess Fantastic Beasts couldn't be called Jurassic Park.
I'm using the coin flip feature. I'm going to video this. All right, here we go. You're hearing this live. You're hearing the audio. You're hearing in the video if you're checking this. So, what have we said? Jurassic Park is heads and Fantastic Beasts is tails. Okay, here we go. Flipping. It is tails. No, it's not. It's heads. We're doing Jurassic Park.
Oh, thank God. Jesus Christ.
I think you can see that I'm not wearing pants at the end of the video. I'm probably not going to post that.
Alrighty. So, next week we are revisiting Jurassic Park, much like the idiots in the franchise keep doing.
Yeah.
For our Redux of 2022, thank you very much for voting. I can relax now that it's not Fantastic Beasts again.
Yeah.
Though very funny. Very funny.
Well, yeah, but Jurassic Park makes so much sense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. And if you want to support the show, thank you very much for listening, everybody. And thank you for listening to us talk about all these Wizarding World films. I cannot wait for there to be a next one. Next fortnight will be another franchise with an entry that came out this year that we both didn't see.
Yeah. But at least with this one, we can still go see it.
True. So, yeah, that'll be next fortnight. I'm not sure what we'll do next week, but we'll work that out.
Something stupid, probably.
And in the meantime, if you want to support the show, then you can like us or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at cultpopture. You can email us at cultpopturemedia@gmail.com. You can join the Discord, which there is a link to in the show notes, or you can donate if you so choose over at patreon.com/cultpopture. Richard, it's time to. I made that joke in the first one. It's time to go home, but we're not really going home. Not really. It's time to do.
Well, I think case closed.
That's way better. Thank you.
Case open! Welcome to the post-credit scene.
Welcome along, everybody, to the post-credit scene. This is a segment at the end of each episode where if you donate $5 or more over at patreon.com/cultpopture, you get to give us something to talk about in this, the post-credit scene. Richard, who is it from and what is it?
This comes to us from Brent Taylor, who says, what do you reckon will be the next big thing after we've all had our fill of superhero movies? I reckon it's going to be J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World.
I reckon once video game movies are worked out, maybe that. I think that we'll see a I think something about Stranger Things season 4's finale being like 2-hour episodes feels like that's going to be a thing that'll happen again, and like just a general deconstruction of the concept of a release order for TV. I think,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think that's being played with a bit more. I think, we're in it now, but I don't think we've seen the end of the multiverse trend. I think so many different IPs are doing multiverse shit at the moment. And we'll see that happen in other franchises, I think. What do you think?
Dinosaurs.
Hell yeah.
Fire trucks.
Fuck yeah. And they go wheel, wheel, wheel. Fantastic fire trucks and where to find them.